Hey everyone, how you doing today? If you watch my daily news channel or saw the interviews over the weekend, you know I spent a lot of time talking to students yesterday. 4 hours of content was created. But what I wanted to do is take a couple of quick lessons learned or topics from those discussions, share them with Greg, and really get his expert opinion about them. That'll be topic number 3 today. You ready, Greg?
I'm ready.
So the first one was a couple who lived in an expensive part of the world, Silicon Valley. They were in their early 20s. They actually had a conversation and they picked up stakes and moved to the Midwest because it was just a cheaper and better quality of life. I think that was a great idea. I think more folks should think about that, right? We have a natural inkling to always kind of be where we are, where we're raised. But sometimes the right answer is, you know what? If I want to make a better future for myself, why live in a studio in Santa Cruz, California for $2,000 a month when I can own a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for less money somewhere else? I thought that was a great
hmm
strategy, and it takes a lot of communication, but I gave a big thumbs up to that. What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm seeing it with friends of mine who are, different levels of investors that are leaving like the Northeast and going into Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. Because yeah, number one, the tax environment. Number two, congestion, quality of life. Number three, you can get twice the house for the money. I mean, it's amazing. They're selling these houses that were tiny up in like New Jersey and going down to, these areas of Tennessee and South Carolina, and they're buying mansions on golf courses for the
Yeah,
same price.
it's
It's really
amazing,
funny.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Now, what doesn't change a lot is utility bills. So you got to
Yeah,
keep an
watch
eye
out
on
for
that,
that.
and yard maintenance and stuff like that. But anyways, it's really interesting. But this all goes back. You can trace all this back to the 4-hour work week. Tim
Yeah,
Ferriss, when he came out with that book, he talked about how to live like a king anywhere in the world. And
yeah.
there's countries that people will move to just because their income goes so far. Puerto Rico, you can go to Puerto Rico right now and live tax free.
Yeah.
So there's different states, different countries that are offering huge tax incentives that will pay people to come live there. So it's really interesting what you can take advantage of. But yeah, you have to be in a position where you can. You have to be in the position where you want to. But it can make a lot of sense. And I know a lot of people that are leaving, or left New York during all this because they said, we paid a premium to be there
Right.
because of the amenities. Now that the amenities are gone, does it make sense for us to pay a premium to be there?
I totally agree. And again, I think this boils down, again, it was a big part of my story was being on the same page with your significant other. So have those
hmm
conversations. What do you want in life, right? It's in this example, was the beach important, right? Because they were in Santa Cruz, they were a 5-minute walk from the beach. Is that important? Well, okay, well then we're going to live in a 300 square foot studio for much of our life. Or
hmm
do we want to do we want to have kids? Because you really can't raise kids in a 300 square foot studio. Do we want bigger things? So I think those early conversations are important. Another one that I thought was interesting was the whole idea you want to do one rental at a time, but you start off buying owner occupant, right? So you leverage an FHA loan for 3.5 or 5% down. You move into it, and then a year, 18 months later, that becomes a rental. You've now saved up 3.5%. You go get another FHA loan on your next house and just domino that together. It takes time, it takes patience because you only can do one a year, one every 18 months. But I thought that was a wonderful strategy as well. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can do the whole refi, scenario there, or lines of credit, like I talked about, to pull your equity out tax
Hmm.
free to use for a down payment for the next house. So that is the one house at a time. There was a book written back in the 30s or 40s about that strategy, how to become a millionaire in real estate. And it was the same strategies as buying one house after another.
Hmm.
Now, like you said, there are limits on the number of loans like that you can get. It used to be you could only get 10. I don't know what it is now. And then you have your time frames, and you have to be very careful. So I know a lot of people like on foreclosed homes. A lot of times the houses that are for sale by foreclosure, you have to designate whether you're owner occupant, and they only let owner occupants make offers for the first 14
Yep.
days, 21 days, whatever. A
Hmm.
lot of people will go in as an owner occupant and then use it as a flip or an investment, and that's actually loan fraud. When you
Yep.
sign those papers and you with a loan and you say, I'm going to owner occupy this house, you need to read the fine print, because if you don't, after a certain point, everybody can change their mind, change their situation. But if you're doing this strategically, that's loan fraud. And are they going to
Yeah.
catch you? Are they going to, come after you? Probably not. But at the end of the day, you want to operate with integrity, and you want to sleep well. And not have that hanging over you.
Yeah, let's be clear, folks. I do not bless any of that. I think anytime your intention is not pure, karma will eventually kick you in the butt. Karma is just funny that way. But I fully bless the idea. You know what, honey? We're in Columbus, Ohio. We're gonna buy a different 3-2 every 18 months, and either A, we're gonna save our pennies and use a down payment, or B, we're gonna buy the third one with the equity in the first one. Whatever your strategy is, I fully bless that. But run the numbers, make sure they cash flow. You're probably gonna have PMI. So figure out where PMI plays in this if you have a very low down payment. But I totally bless that strategy. And again, I think more people should take advantage of that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to just be single family. It can be multifamily. It can be duplex, triplex, quads. It can be 5-unit. It can be 20 units. You can buy a 20-unit apartment building and live in one of the units and manage it. You can buy a 100-unit apartment building and live in one of the units and manage it. Or you can buy it and hire management and do whatever you want to do. So it can be done with a number of different vehicles. You can do it with mixed use property where you can live above, have a business below, have your business below, rent above. I mean, so there's a lot of different ways you can skin that cat.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I think is interesting that I certainly leveraged a ton, and it will depend on your employer, right? The rules of it is a 401k loan, right? One of the things I did a lot in 2010 when because banks go through cycles, right? From 2000 to like 2009, banks would loan me anything I asked for. And then because I owned a lot of real estate, they told me no. So one of the things I did is I went back to my 401k over and over and over again up to the limit and borrowed money and bought houses. So I think the 401k loan is an awesome thing if that is an option for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great vehicle, especially with solo 401ks. You can do it, your work 401k. So yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that normal folks do, we talked a little bit in phase 2 or topic 2 was that live in flip, but also a live in flip with the kind of BRRRR exit where you flip the financing as well, right? I think there's lots of ways I think there's lots of ways if couples communicate and plan that they can use their home as an asset to build wealth and also have it become a rental on the exit. So you don't actually lose it, right? It doesn't just go off and, to someone else, but it can become a long-term piece of your financial picture.
Yeah, especially right now with interest rates as low as they are, you're paying down a lot more principal now than you were years before, where you spent 20 years paying interest and then maybe 10 pays down the principal. But I go back to my mom's scenario. She was in that house 21 years. My dad passed away. They worked through, everybody's living longer than than you should or are supposed to nowadays, and outliving normal income, preparation. So she already had primarily worked through her 401k, and all their retirement. And, this house now is going to sustain her for the rest of her life because they lived in it 21 years, paid it off. So even if you don't have huge appreciation, just the fact that you're paying the thing off, or you have renters that are paying it off for you, at the end of the day, that's a nice little annuity there that can be cashed in on. So you don't always have to have great cash flow. You can have a long-term plan and say, I'm just going to accumulate these assets, let the renters pay them off. You get depreciation. There's a lot of other advantages, from a tax standpoint, you can take advantage of. And at the end of the day, you might have a bunch of houses that you own free and clear that you can either keep renting and have positive cash flow, or you can just cash them all in, sell them, and put the money in the bank.
Yeah, it's my whole notion of, folks, if you just got to 4, you can fundamentally change your financial future. You get to be 60, 65, they'll be free and clear, or basically free and clear. You can sell them off one at a time. You can keep them cash flow, or you can just go get loans one at a time and pull money out. And, there's just so many options if you take the time to put together a picture. And again, you don't have to have hundreds. I tell people all the time, if you got to 4, 4 conservatively financed, non-alligators, right? No negative cash flow. Your future is bright. Would you agree?
Yep, absolutely.
Very cool, man. Well, these are always great conversations. I appreciate your time this Monday. Thank you for being our first expert every week.
Yep, I enjoy it.
Thank you, buddy.